I'm going to say this about New Bremen. Everything is friendly.
The population in New Bremen is just over 3,000, the last census.
It's a small community and everybody knows everybody's business pretty much.
It's gentle and kind, and it's serene. I mean, and you don't have the smells or sounds of the big city.
Actually, I grew up in Minster. There's no difference. I mean, Minster and New Bremen are the same thing, basically. You know, there's nothing to do in either town, really.
There is no fun in New Bremen, I will admit.
There are people that still leave their houses unlocked. There are people that still leave their keys in their car.
It's very safe. It's Mayberry, and we love it.
In Mercer County, everything's the same. Bean field, cornfield, hayfield, cows, pigs, and then you got this piece of iron finally come up and people called it art.
I don't think a lot of the people understand what it's all about. I don't think they really do.
It's got the sticking up like, yeah, that's good.
It's different.
To be real honest, when I first saw some of the twisted metal things, I kind of thought, what in the heck, you know, who would do that and why would you do that?
A few people in the plant at work, they was wondering, why are these pieces coming here? They act like they were paying for them or something. Everybody thinks they own everything here. Well, who's paying for that? Everybody worries, who's paying for it? He's setting it there, it's his. He can do whatever he wants with it.
I just think that people, a lot of them don't know who he is, but they know of a guy from California that does this stuff.
I think if I sat down and figured it out, I've probably made 500 or 600 sculptures. I've been doing this since 1979. And it's what I quit teaching in '87. And I haven't had any other jobs.
Bret and I met each other at an art opening where the art dealer was representing both of us, and hit it off right away. He started talking about the dilemma that he has in Orange, California, trying to find a place to bend large sculpture. And I said, well, you should come to New Bremen, Ohio and see what's there. We have plenty of room for bending sculpture.
New Bremen was and has been an enormous gift to Bret, to me, and to our family on so many different levels. The fact that he had an opportunity to build the monumental pieces was astounding for him. He was so excited. He was like a kid in a candy store.
Since 1999, I've been coming here to this wonderful little place in the middle of Ohio. And it has been a very special place for me. And the people that are here have become very good, close friends.
I remember the first time Bret came
met him. It was so
to our house. He was like dancing all over our basement.
I was like scared of him at first.
Yeah, we were kind of hesitant at first because he was so out there.
I knew what he did with his work and that, and I might have talked with him once or twice before, and we was over there shelling corn, and he was ready to leave, and I just asked him if he wanted to ride along in the combine a couple of rounds. And he looked at me and he thought maybe I was kidding. And I said, no, you want to ride along? And he said, well, I'm kind of in a hurry, but I've got time for that.
I have been able to work with people here, people that work with Crown Equipment Corporation, people that don't, that have helped me.
I've met Bret through some of his sculptures. I've welded on quite a few of his sculptures, the larger ones. I always accuse him of bending up good straight iron, but he does a marvelous job. It's amazing what he can do with the iron and get the looks out of it. They do look neat.
I think me and Bret, we hit her off pretty good right off the start. Like I said, I didn't know much about art, but I knew how to run a grinder. I mean, I'm just proud to be a part that I don't know how to bend the metal, but it's just nice to help him set his concrete and watch him do his thing.
I'm stuck.
Wonderful thing about Bret is that he cares very deeply about the quality of his sculpture. He takes his work very seriously, but he doesn't take himself too seriously.
I'm probably one of the most undisciplined human beings in the world, but there's something inside my psyche that makes me make art. I have to make art. If I have a day off, I'm at the studio because I want to see something. I want to make something I haven't seen before.
I think he gets great satisfaction from the completion of a project. But I think what drives him is the fact that there are so many other projects in his head that are essential for him to be put into being, to come to fruition.
In the community, people love to see what he's created lately.
The first piece I made in Ohio was Faithlit. The second piece was Opus. Then I made XO, Rapture, Revolution, The Gathering, High Hopes, Jezebel, Peace Up, Raised, and now Amore.
It's cool that he just heats it up and then it heats for an hour and it starts to bend, and then he just takes it and he just puts it on this board and it just starts to bend. I think that's cool.
For years, people have been asking me, how do you do that? So I thought that what I would do is make a giant sculpture which would really show how you do the process.
Hud.
Where you at?
Hud Baker.
Everybody here has a nickname except Hud. First things first, we gotta get our lift out here. The other lift out here. Well, we've pulled the beam. It's a 76-foot beam. It weighs 11,000 pounds.
That's big, Bret.
One end of the steel is always attached in a very solid fashion to a post. Then I create a heating chamber with basically a ceramic blanket, spun ceramic blanket. I use propane gas and I apply using big Venturi burners. I heat up sections that are going to be bent.
Now we have a heating chamber.
It's pretty toasty, isn't it?
That's intense.
Yeah. Well, now we wait. The wind changed direction. That's good. The key is to control the steel while it's getting really hot. Steel tends to want to bend in a certain way, and most of the time, the easiest way it bends is the way it looks the best. So you just kind of control it, and I feel like I nudge it along a way that it wants to be nudged.
I've asked him, do you go into this with a picture in your mind? Do you have a form, or do you let the metal talk to you? And I think it's a combination of the two.
I've got a general idea of the direction I want to go, but I want to keep it loose enough so that I don't know exactly what I'm doing. If that makes any sense at all. I want to bring some spontaneity into the events that are forthcoming.
I think watching the bending process is all part of what I was speaking of as making the ordinary extraordinary. Here is a piece of steel that was made hot to assume its shape as an I-beam, and Bret is making it hot again to no longer be an I-beam. It's a transformation. It is slow, it is predicted, and yet Bret is still open to spontaneity. He knows where he's going with these things, and he understands the physics and the physicality of making this stuff happen. But to actually see this piece of steel begin that movement and continue the movement with Bret orchestrating that movement, saying a little more, whoop, that's enough, is a real sensitivity.
Hey, Lenny. This thing's big.
Every piece I make is different, but it's also an extension of the last piece I made, whether it's a little one or a giant one.
I think he wants to test the limits, certainly the limits of the material, but I think even more so his own personal limits.
There's a wonderful quality to the permanence of this. They're going to be around for a lot longer than my kids are going to be alive, or their kids, or they will withstand a great deal of time before they rot away. So that's kind of cool. You kind of want to make them good. They're going to be around forever.
The sculpture around the community as a changing resource, as Bret creates new things, is always a source of fascination.
People talk about it. I wonder what the meaning is, or why did he do it this way, or why did they want a taller one?
If you look at the scene of contemporary sculpture as we end the 20th century, begin the 21st century, of course, people like George Rickey, Richard Serra, who are working in both the same and disparate materials, but are using both abstracted imagery as well as representational imagery. And Bret's work fits into all of the above.
I think that Bret's work really transcends environment. There is a certain appeal to having it out in New Bremen and driving up on it and seeing it on this beautiful sort of plain vista and looking at the sky and the clouds and certain weather, it changes.
The one that's out there at the plant out that direction on the west side of town, that one I do not understand that.
Whatever the art is of the moment is the art that the most talked about, the most thought-provoking, the most contentious. And French Impressionism is a great example. I mean, when it was first being developed and utilized in Paris in the 1870s, I mean, the critics had a field day. And even people would go to exhibitions just to point their fingers and say, isn't that awful, and it's hilarious, or it's absurd, or it's terrible.
It looks like
what is that?
That's
basically
slide,
what they would say.
A kid's slide that got caught in the windstorm.
Yeah. We look at it and we can't see the beauty.
I think some of it's neat, but some of it's like out there as far as people in this area are concerned. It's like laid back Germans, and it's like it's neat, but really who gives two shits about it?
Even when people don't like a piece of art, it has a great effect because it has started the conversation of the questions that you've been asking, which is, what is art? Why do we respond to it? What works for us and what doesn't work for us? Negative can have just as much an effect as positive. And I think that, just to stimulate thinking is incredibly valuable.
Well, I'm no art critic. I don't think I can tell you what art really is. I know what I like. I know things that I see that, I respond to.
A lot of art ends when it becomes more of a design and less of what I feel is a person trying to express something or an emotion or something deeper inside or some kind of purpose.
Art is not about what the artist was thinking at that time. Art is what feelings are evoked out of the person that's viewing them.
When I look at art, I look for enjoyment, and I get joy from seeing artwork. And so I'm not looking defensively, like, oh, why is that art?
Art is about soul. It's about material, it's about spirit, it's about energy, it's about creativity, it's about product. It's all those things and many more.
Art is nothing. Art is everything. Art is nothing.
I think horses are living art, so I think I am an art fan. I don't have an artistic talent. I think I can see beauty, and people say you have an eye when you can really look at a horse and know if it's well conformed. And so maybe I am artistic and don't even know it.
I think that anything can be constituted as art. It doesn't have to just be a two-dimensional painting or a three-dimensional sculpture. There's a lot of different various forms of art.
Okay, what's all these? These are cool. Are those cherries on top? I start to talk more about modern art in 6th grade and some of the contemporary arts. The 6th graders don't really have a lot of life experiences to relate a lot to. Some of them we talk about, if there's an artwork you don't understand, go look at the title. There's one piece that's right now behind the shopping center in town, and one of the boys said it looks like Wile E. Coyote. He said, but he has 3 legs and 3 ears.
When you ask me what appeals to me about Bret's art, I react to it. There's a cleanness about it that speaks to me, and there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm to his pieces. Now the dancers are a little more twisted and complex, and they have lots of rhythm.
I look at those and I see life and fullness of life, celebration, and that's exactly what the dancers are doing.
It's almost like I can define artist more than I can define art. And to me, an artist is someone who has to do it. They have to make this statement.
If you're an artist and you love what you do and you're sticking your neck out, you're going to have a fiscal sine curve to your life. There's been about 2 or 3 times when I really felt like quitting. It hasn't been for a long time, but in my 30s and early 40s, where I hit some kind of wall where I just, you're trying to make enough money to survive and make your next piece of art and buy shoes for your kids.
During the fallow times, Bret continues to work, and part of my job is to continue to bolster him and for him to understand that what he does is valid, is valuable, is important, is wonderful.
One of Bret's strengths is that he has a wonderful family. His wife, Lynn, is so supportive.
It's been anything but boring. I've asked him for one thing consistently throughout the 28 years that we've known each other. And it's the one thing he won't give me. I've asked him for 30 seconds of boredom.
We have 2 wonderful kids that we adore, that are great human beings.
Almost. That's what I think about my dad's work. People drive down our street when I was little and they just stop and look at the stuff in the front yard and they'd just be like, so what's it do? What's it supposed to be? I'd be like, anything you want.
I remember when I was about 4 or 5, I was scurrying around the house and I ran into the kitchen and saw Dad plastering a naked lady and was just entranced. Doing casting a nude casting?
It's been difficult at times, but for the most part, it's been exciting, and it's been magical, and it's been passionate, and it's been more than I could have asked for if I had tried to create a life in my mind.
I have this theory about being lucky. It's okay to be lucky as long as you're grateful. And I am very grateful. I hope to be finished by Friday. And then we have to sandblast, and then we have to paint, and then we have to move it. Then we have to pour concrete probably next week someplace to put it up somewhere nice. There's a critical amount of work that has to be done to make something, to finish something the right way.
Bret's kind of like I think the rugby player. He gets hold of that ball and bounces and bounces and bounces, and at the last moment does something really different. And the game keeps going. And that's what I love about Bret's work. It's like watching a rugby game, watching him work, and then I see that game in the sculpture.
There's always a chance that it's going, that it'll all turn to crap.
It isn't complete till the final bend is made. It can go in a flop. Everything can be ruined in a matter of 2 minutes. And there's many times he's bending and you say, no, don't touch it. And he'll tweak it and it'll come out and it looks great.
That, my friend, is a wrap.
Actually, the bending of the steel is probably the quickest thing. And then you have to figure out how it's going to stand up, how it's going to present itself, how it's going to be. And sometimes more work than the bending. It wasn't with Amore. The solution was kind of quick and readily apparent. I'm glad we don't have to heat anything again.
Are you happy with it?
Yeah, very happy.
You think I might wait to jump over the crane?
I'm always amazed at my husband.
Halfway through.
I want to make a reservation for sandblasting and painting on next Tuesday. Sandblasting is a gritty process that removes the scale and crud from the burn-up steel, and the smooth surface of the piece is then revealed. The piece is painted because I don't want it to turn brown, which is what it would do if it were allowed to rust. To my eye, the silver color makes the sculpture appear lighter. It still weighs around 5 tons, it just doesn't look like it.
I really do like that. I really like it. It looks happy to me.
Yeah,
I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's a happy piece.
This massive amount of stuff, which by itself doesn't even want to sit still, has to somehow be maneuvered into play, and I compare it to some great kind of creature that then has to be put into its position in life. Then it's balanced into play, brought down delicately, like you would have to with any large piece of steel, and then bolted in with fingers like that. It comes down to this. These massive things. And what's great about that too is Bret is pulling these people helping him. They all become part of this installation. It isn't just, the truck driver just drops it off and leaves. The truck driver stays. And he's there watching, and everybody is watching. It is performance art on a tonnage scale.
As an artist, what becomes important is doing it and then putting it out there. There is that component because that's what you're doing. You're expressing yourself, you are communicating in a different way.
Knowing Bret and knowing more about his art, makes it something that you find more interesting.
With the kids, when they get a chance to see some of, in Bret Price's artwork, a chance to see more of his works and the variety, and as they come and go, instead of the one that they'd become so accustomed to, they really think, wow, that's cool.
Any exposure makes you a little more sophisticated in your appreciation.
Some people call it junk, but it isn't. You got to have talent to do that stuff.
The metal that he works with, the huge pieces, the small pieces of metal that people would never consider doing anything with but throwing in a field, he turns them into things of beauty.
I hope that people see art as something that is an expression of everything around them, of their life, of the lives that are going to be in front of them, the lives that have been behind them. Art is all about change and the unexpected, and it's a really wonderful thing to fill your life up with.
TV on the wall, tell me who I am among society. Polytricksters say that math is fuzz, greedy is as greedy does my society. And have you ever thought for just one day how nice life would be if you were on MTV? With money, oh money, 2 Mercedes in the yard, one for me, and one for my dog. We're gonna be rock stars for just one